Welcome back to the BODcast with Alli and Chris. I'm Alli Covington, founder of Bod by Alli.
And I'm Chris, CTO of Bod by Alli.
And we've had another amazing week this week, haven't we, Chris?
Yeah, it's getting more and more exciting every week. There's new things happening and momentum is picking up.
Ooh, I love momentum. Momentum is a great thing. It was really fun to Zoom in with the investor that we've been talking with on Monday and start to show him some of the business plan and numbers and have him really excited about taking us to his board of directors and want to
That's
walk
the
through
big news we got this week.
Yeah. But he's even more excited because he and his girlfriend were talking about changing their training around. So I was like, can I try it? Can we try it? I'm like, yes, please. Because I know that once they try it, they're going to love it.
And
they're going to love it.
The biggest takeaway that I got from him was him saying that his girlfriend hates all the other apps out there. She does not like using the meal planning or the macro tracking or any of it because most of them don't do any meal planning at all.
Right.
And the macro tracking leaves a little bit to be desired.
I agree. I've seen, and even the ones that I have used, and I use them because I just wanted to see what was out there. And these are like the top ones on the market. I thought, really? Okay. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have that be the thing or have there be 500 different entries for eggs because they let everybody, add into their database and,
Yeah, that what annoyed me the most. It was like going to add simple foods and it's like you can't find everything because you have to sift through every brand of everything. And a lot of the times it's user entered data and it can be missing stuff like eggs that don't have the fat put in properly or things along those lines. Or you go to find cuts of steak and it's like, okay, I have a New York strip steak and there's 5 different entries for it and none of them agree on how much fat is in a New York strip steak. It's all over the place. Some put like 2 grams per ounce, others have 8 grams per ounce. It's like, that's a big gap. What is real here? So what we try to do with our app is really keep things to a curated list, which sometimes does mean we don't have everything right away. We're building up that list over time, but we really want to keep it curated so it's not overwhelming and trying to keep it easy to use. While
and
at the same time,
it's logical, right? Because when I see those big lists on those other apps where you've got several people added in the same packaged food, but they all have different numbers, I'm like, why?
Oh, especially when it's packaged food. And how can they have different numbers? It's like they're very consistent.
Yes.
They never change.
Right. Their nutrition labels are their nutrition labels.
Right.
So,
it would be a different barcode if they changed.
Right. So I'm with you. I'm super excited about them trying it out. I know they're going to be really, really pleased. And of course, that made me go, we need to do a little housekeeping on some things. But I love that kick in the pants with a deadline to be like, okay, we got to do this.
Yeah. So this is where like a lot of this week was going back through our onboarding process, which a lot of our clients may have not had too much of an experience with because the onboarding initially was very simple and straightforward. We've been expanding on that, making it more of a better user experience, especially as we start looking at ramping up into marketing. And we're like, we want to get through tens to hundreds of people a day coming through this thing. So we need to pretty it up. We need to get it designed a little bit better, make it a smoother experience. And that's been this week, hoping that really plays well, getting our investor and his girlfriend to go through that thing themselves and see what kind of feedback we get. That should be really good feedback there. And another big thing that, we've talked about this the last week or so is getting more help information of how to use the app, what features are available, because we are getting a lot more features, things are getting a lot more complex, and it's not always obvious that new features were added. So that's the next big thing and we're just going to take this step by step. You're going to be, seeing that roll out fairly shortly. Pretty much.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, we want to have kind of that onboarding plus some help, context help for the weekend coming into next week. And just being able
This
to
is
show
really
people what's
fun.
new. It is
This
getting
is
really
so
fun.
fun. I'm really glad. I'm really glad that we're doing this. I'm really glad that you came along when you did.
Just
And
in time.
just in time. I also got some great news from another client that
These are always
she
good.
was she was she was saying thank you for the ridiculous amount of support. I was like, what do you mean? She
Mm,
said, my doctor, she had neurosurgery 10 years ago. Her doctor is cutting one of her medications in half now because her body is healthy enough to
that's
do it.
huge. That's
And more than that, she was saying, I don't think that I would have even asked to be, to have my medications cut down if it hadn't been for your support, Alli. I just like you just being there and having this friendship grow between us. I feel so safe in being able to ask for that, because then she's not alone.
that's a
And her
really good feeling for
fiance didn't
you.
know how to help her. Oh my gosh. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, okay, I'm feeling pretty awesome right now. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just being me. I'm just doing my thing, helping everybody be as awesome and feel good as they can.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I love her to death. I feel like we're sisters. But I mean, she started off as a client at the beginning of the year, and just a wonderful human. And I love the fact that I get to chat with our clients and be there for them as much as they want.
Mm-hmm.
Some want more than others. And the ones that are just happy going along doing their
Right?
thing are doing their thing. I'm not going to bug them. The last thing they need is their trainer on them about like, did you eat all your protein today? Unless that's what they want, right? If that's what they
Yeah, some
want, then
people
I'm
some people just
there.
want to do their thing. Some people just want the app. They're like, hey, I love the
and they
workouts. I
and they
think
want
that's
to
what,
know I'm here, right? Because
yeah.
I'll occasionally ask questions, but they don't need to every week,
No.
you know.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. I'm
And it's
so
gonna just
excited.
right. And as we get more and more clients, there's gonna be so many more of those stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. That might become a thing. I know I've seen like other, where we take like, you know, a few minutes or 10 minutes kind of thing and like just tell all the client stories. Because there's going to be lots of those coming especially once we get to all the tens and hundreds of clients and so many more.
I feel like there could be like a client spotlight on the
Yeah,
on the podcast and have them be a guest.
I like that idea. Yeah, because there's definitely going to be some clients, especially when you get to, someone who's lost 50 pounds or 100 pounds, right? Like
I like
big,
you.
like me. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, 120 pounds I've lost.
Yeah. One of our other clients lost about that same amount too, right? Pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had at least a couple, if not more.
Yeah. But we've also got ones that are just trying to lose 10.
Yeah, it's not all the biggest loser kind of thing. There's lots of people who, I mean, and it's the funny thing is when you are like 150 pounds overweight, dropping 10 pounds is so easy.
Yeah.
Like it's really not hard. I remember the first
Go to the
month.
bathroom and you can drop 10 pounds.
The first month I dropped like 20 pounds. But I think what a
Mhm.
lot of people don't understand is that's not 20 pounds of body fat
No,
because
that's a lot of water.
there's a lot of water. You retain tons of water when you're eating 400 grams of carbs a day.
Yes.
And when you cut that out, it's like you're going to drop a lot lot. But
Do you want to know
even
how much it
after
is?
what, 400
The
grams
little
carbs?
the little nerd in me with my little glasses and my little cause comes
Mm-hmm.
out all of a sudden and says, yeah, for
All
every
right, nerdy girl.
gram, yep, for every gram of glycogen that your body is stored,
Mm-hmm.
that's carbohydrates that your body doesn't use as energy that day. For every 1 gram, your body will store 3 to 7 grams of water. 3 to 7 times as much
Yeah.
glycogen as you store. Now you stored glycogen in your muscles, all over your
And
body, and your
yep,
liver.
right. Yeah, your
So
liver
it's
holds a little bit. It's not a lot, but it's a fair amount. How much is it typically? Like 100 grams? something like
stored in
that.
your liver. I'd have to go
Well,
look it up. I don't know off the top of my head.
it's obviously going to be different for men and women. Like
Yeah,
men
but
have bigger livers, but
it generally will take, if you stopped eating carbs or like fell way, way, way below, like down to 10 or 20 grams a day, where you'd be putting yourself into ketosis, it'll take you a solid 3 to 7 days, depending on the size of your body and how full your muscle cells are of glycogen to cycle through it all. So that's
right,
why you
because
can
once it
drop
starts
a
to
lot of weight fast.
yeah, and once it starts to deplete, it's like that's the thing with fat too. It's like when you get to really low fat levels, it's hard to get any energy out of what's left because your body really doesn't want to like squeeze blood from the stone, so to speak.
Right. It doesn't want to let go of it. So that's why when I was training for Miss Fitness, getting down to my essential body fat down to like 10 to 11%. Ooh, man, you don't have a lot
It
of
gets hard.
energy. And
No,
your muscles are on fire, burning like just walking up the stairs, just doing normal daily activities.
it's
They're on
harder to clear that
fire.
lactic acid.
Yeah. And you go, wow, that's a lot of burning because you don't have any fuel and your body is trying not to convert any fat. Because like we want to live and we don't
Right,
have
and the
any,
last thing it
you've
wants to burn
completely
is
depleted
protein.
us of fuel.
Right.
Yes.
No, it
Yeah.
gets so losing that last 10 pounds, like if you're just, I mean, let's say somebody you got a guy who's like somewhere in the 15 to 20% body fat range, which is not bad at all. But it's like, if you want to lean out for the summer or something like that, you want to get it into that 10 to 15 range, it's not easy. It gets a
It's not
lot
easy.
harder. When
Yeah.
you've got 50 pounds of extra body fat, it's like your body's not going to fight you too much.
Nope. No, it
Like
actually
I've,
wants to let go of it. It's like, oh,
right.
thank God, please. This is too much to carry around. And there really is an ideal weight for
Yeah,
people
because
where
for
you can
me,
live.
I think I'm probably into my last, like, if I were to lean way down, like probably getting at or under 10% body fat, I'd lose about another 40 pounds.
Sounds
So
about right.
I'm getting into that last 40 pounds after losing 120. And I've noticed it got harder. The first 70 to 80 pounds was just like slipped right off. Then it
Mm-hmm.
got a little trickier. Right around 300
Mm-hmm.
pounds is where it got harder. Then around 270, it got harder again. And now I'm in
Mm-hmm.
this like 250 to 240 range. And it's like, holy crap.
It's
Your body starts to fight you.
this is where you dial it in. This is where you're
Yeah.
dialing in your diet, you're dialing in your workouts, and it gets very systematic,
This is where you
right?
dial in that discipline.
Right. The
You
mentality of it.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is where
Yeah.
people, and I can see where people lose it, where people give up, where people quit, because this is where you can lose that first, especially if you're very overweight, you could lose that first half of your chunk. If it's 150 pounds and you lose 70, it's like that seems so easy. And then you get to this part where you're into that last quarter, you're into the home stretch. And now this is where the mindset shift really has to take place. And this is where you're going to be tested to say, did you really change your mindset, or did you just kind of do good for a little while, but you haven't really changed your mindset?
And let's talk about the women, right? Because it's not the same experience for women as it is for men,
Okay.
right?
Tell me more.
Men stop drinking soda and they drop a bunch of weight. Women
Uh-huh.
stop drinking soda and their weight, like they like lose a pound and they're going, wait, what? Because hormones, right?
Okay.
Our bodies need to, especially if well, even if we're not still in childbearing, then that's a different hormonal issue. But in
Mm-hmm.
childbearing years, right before menopause, our bodies want to retain fat. They
Mm-hmm.
don't want us to get really lean. The bodies don't really want to go below 20% body fat because it needs to have a baby. And in order for, and the
Yeah.
thing about babies is they're, I love them to death. So don't take this the wrong way, but babies are like parasites to the host.
Yeah.
They will suck all the calcium they need from our bones if we're not getting enough. They'll suck all the protein from our muscles if they're not
Mm-hmm.
getting enough, if we're not eating enough. They will take everything from us. And that's what our
Yeah.
body's job is to do. It's like, okay, well, you're going to be okay up until the point where you die. But
Right.
like that's
We got to make sure
what
that
happens.
this growing kid inside of you gets the nutrients
It
that it needs.
needs. That's
Yeah.
right. So women's bodies are much trickier. Men are way more straightforward. Man
And
comes to me and says, I want to drop X amount of body weight. I want to build muscle. Easy peasy.
and
That's
the
going to be easy to do. But for women, it's like, it's not a linear, it's not a straight line. It's not
mhm.
even a curve. It's not even like a
It's a
logarithmic
roller
curve.
coaster ride.
It's a freaking roller coaster because our hormones fluctuate throughout the month too. So not
Yeah.
only do they do so because our hormones fluctuate, our mindset fluctuates too. It's a lot more delicate situation for women to
Yeah.
lose weight than it is for men. And anybody that says otherwise is selling you something. Sorry.
And the thing I've noticed, like from a man's point of view, is the more body fat you lose, the more testosterone you have, and the more you really want to like not fucking sit around. It's like I'll go to the gym, and even if like I will go to the gym some days, and I'll kind of feel sluggish or lazy or something like that. And I'm just like, eh. But once I get started, and some of that, just like you get some of that, those hormones kick in, it's just like, okay, I'm going gorilla mode and I'm fucking grabbing some 80-pound dumbbells and I'm doing back rows. And it's just like, and then I hurt the next day. But it's like, you just, like for a guy, it's, there's something kicks in once you start that is just like, okay, I remember how to be a badass in here and just grab too much weight and start throwing it around.
Oh, is that what happened to somebody earlier this week?
With my legs. Yeah, somehow I couldn't walk the next 3 days. Even today,
Oh.
my legs are still. I was doing back and abs. I had to do leg raises, and I was like, "Oh my god, my quads hurt doing leg raises." This is funny shit.
Sorry. I'm not laughing at you. I'm absolutely not laughing at you.
No, you never do that ever, do you?
No, no.
No, no,
Mm-mm.
you would never do that. You're not like that at all. That's the sheepest look I've ever seen. uh, Allie would never laugh at my pain.
Well, I
I
sat there going, you goofy butt. You're not so, jeez.
hadn't, yeah. Oh yeah,
You hadn't lifted in a little while because you were escaping from Mexico.
I hadn't done like a good leg day in like 3 weeks, and I decided to grab some 20-pound dumbbells and do 3 sets of almost 20 walking lunges, and I did some deadlifts at 150 pounds or something, and then a whole bunch of other shit, and I was like, okay, maybe that was a bad idea. Even
Oh, and
walking out of
I think
there,
there were some jump squats in there too.
there was
And
some jump squats, there was some, the leg extensions. That was the bad one. I think that's why my quads were tore the hell up. I went and sat down. I had done leg extensions in almost a month, and I decided to just, I can do 180-pound leg extensions. Why not? Because
oy
that's what I
vey.
did. Yeah, when I was doing them
That's
all
what
the
I did
time.
last.
Yeah, well, that's what the app said to do. I mean, I just do what the app tells me to do.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful advertising.
Maybe we need
Sounds
to.
like we need to tweak the algorithm a little bit there, Sparky.
Maybe the algorithm needs to take into account how long it's been since you worked out. Like,
Yes, it
hey, it's
definitely
been a little
does.
while. Let's knock this
Let's
down 20%
we're
and
gonna
ramp
throttle
you.
it back just a little. Yes,
We're
yes.
gonna like ramp you
Can
back
you make
in.
that happen now?
Sure. I'll add it to the list of 177 things to do.
Just don't put it at the bottom of the list.
No. Uh, did we talk about how startups are fun?
They are. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've only ever worked a 9 to 5 once in my life, and it lasted all of 3 months because I was bored out of my mind.
I've never worked a 9 to 5 in an office. I've worked 7 to 7 in construction because that's how construction works. There's no 9 to 5 in construction. That's not a
Well,
thing.
I worked 14 hours a day building my financial business in an office,
Yeah.
but I made my own hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That's a little
can't be
more
told when to
entrepreneurial.
come and go. Can't be told when to
Yeah.
come and go. I can't.
No, I
So yeah,
think
this is
I could never
fun.
go back to that. I could never go back to it. It's like, and I've had like, I mean, I've had offers. I've had fucking emails
Me
from
too.
Facebook. Facebook's trying to get me at like 200 grand a year. I'm like, sorry, not happening. So the first thing I asked them was like, so can I continue to work on the company that I'm building? They're like, no, we'd have to take that from you. And I'm just like, bye, bitch.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
see you
you can't
later.
have it. You
It's like,
cannot have it.
no.
No.
Yeah, so many of those big companies, they do these like IP rules and stuff like that. Like, you work on something on our time, and you're our property, more or less.
Well,
I'm just
and
like,
nobody would expect you to work on it on their time, but you should be able to work on whatever you want on your time.
yeah, there's some famous like stories and lawsuits of stuff like that, of people working for like IBM and Hewlett Packard and places like that. And like, yeah, we built this in our garage in our spare time. And they're like, nah, you belong to us. You signed agreements.
Mm,
They do that. They sign contracts. They basically own you. Big companies, smaller companies, probably not.
no thanks.
Yeah, I'm just like, no, I'm good. I'll tough it out. It's like,
Yeah. The eventual payoff will be worth way more than the 200 grand a year that you could have made after taxes.
absolutely. This is going to be worth so much more. So,
Although it would get you citizenship, right? So, I mean, there's
no,
that.
no, no. They're like, but
Oh,
you can work remotely from Canada or wherever you want as long as you're in the right time zone. And I'm just like,
oh,
does
like,
it
never mind.
can I get into the US? And they're like, that's not really what we're offering.
Oh,
And
never
I'm like, but you're
mind.
you're fucking Facebook. You could just like sign a check and have this done in a week. It's like, you guys do these by the hundreds. And it's like, okay, whatever.
Never mind then.
Yeah, I'm not really that interested. And I can't imagine me fitting in with Facebook. Just,
No, I can't either.
I've heard from people that they're not, let's just say, all that inclusive or
Oh,
something like that.
really?
Yeah. They claim to be. They have their whole inclusion people, or what do they call it? Diversity people. It's just
So
like
what, like they discriminate against Canadians?
straight white men.
Oh, oh,
Right? I've got all three check marks that they don't like.
straight white male.
Yeah,
Wow,
that's
the
that's
new
become derogatory.
minority. The new minority.
In some companies, it's becoming a minority. It's like, hey, we're not allowed to hire you because you're white and you're a man and you're straight. It's like, oh, wow, discriminate much?
Wow.
But we don't discriminate against anybody except for you.
Right. Except for the patriarchy, or who we think is the patriarchy.
Right, because things are working out so well for some of those people.
Hmm.
Anyway, not diving into politics.
No, you know me. I'm not a big fan.
No, but it's like,
I'm just
it's
not a fan of discrimination of any type, of any kind, for any reason.
no, if you can do the job, then just show that you can do the job.
Pick the best person for the job. I don't care what color, gender. I don't care if they're a rainbow or a unicorn.
Hmm.
Are you the best candidate for the job? Then you get the job.
Yeah,
Pretty
and
much that's how
show
I
that you
believe.
can. And it's a matter of like, can you show that you can? Can you, you know, give some evidence that you've done this job, you've done it successfully, and yeah, that's how it should be.
It is how it should be. And if you need more time to get more experience, then go do it.
Well, there's
Right.
always, right, you get all kinds of positions that are like intern positions and junior positions and all of that.
Yes. So that you can build up that resume so that you can get up to the job that you eventually want. My daughter asked me, she sent me a text earlier this week asking if there was any editing work that I needed her to do when she gets back home. And I was
Hmm.
like, yes. Well, what? All of it? I'm like, girl, let's
Yeah,
go.
we've got some videos to do. That's going to be a
That's
big thing
some,
coming up.
I said,
So,
make a commercial. How long?
right.
10 seconds, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever you want to do. Make a whole bunch of them. Here you go.
Yeah, we want to do some pitch videos that we're going to have for different like crowdfunding platforms and things like that we're going to try to get onto and raise some money.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. Um, but this is a girl that that says she wants to do editing, but has not done any of it, even though I've given her the opportunity. So I'm glad that she asked for it. I saw an ad on Twitter, I think it was, for 1:37 p.m.
Hmm.
One of Gary Vee's companies that's expanding, and they're looking for all kinds of different people, and they put their thing out there, and I forwarded it to her.
Yeah.
And I said, just so you know, like, here's a company that's looking for all kinds of stuff. And Gary Vee is a really big proponent of interning versus going to college.
Right.
You know, his message is always like, you can always go to college, but, you know, intern, find out what you like, do kinds of things like that. And I was looking at
love
their
that idea.
I do too. And especially if you're somebody who wants to be into the arts, into editing and filming and stuff like that, I think that it makes a lot of sense for her to do that. And
Right.
looking
Find
at
your
their
niche that you like.
looking at their application has far more slots for, you know, demonstrating your proficiency than for your education. There was one slot for list your highest level of education achieved.
Right.
And then everything else was give us your social media handles, your websites, give us all this other stuff that you've done so we can go check out like your
Your proof of work.
portfolio. Yes. So I told her,
Yeah.
I said, check out the application and tell me what you think. Tell me what you see.
I like
So
that for BOD too. Like I've never been, obviously there's certain jobs where a college degree makes a huge difference. If you want to be a scientist, you kind of got to. You need the education, you need the formal
engineering,
education,
that
engineering,
kind of stuff.
like STEM especially, that's super important. Whenever you get into arts, it's like there's a lot to be said for work experience. And it's
Building a
like,
portfolio.
right. And I kind of equate it to a certain extent, maybe not exactly, but like when I was working in the trades, the way that they always did stuff was apprenticeships, which always were modeled on you become a first year apprentice, you don't go to school, you go to work. You go to work for 10 months. You're basically a glorified labor, but you're learning from your third years, fourth years, and journeymen. But usually the setup would be like a journeyman would have like a third or fourth year and maybe a first year with them. The first year is kind of just tagging along, doing the grunt work, but learning from the other two, while the journeyman's teaching that third or fourth year. So like then you do your 10 months, then you go to school for a couple of months. You come back out, you know some more stuff, then your second year. Do 10 more months, go back to school, 10 more months back to school, finish your 4 years, then you go write the journeyman ticket. This is where you graduate more or less. And then you get the bigger paycheck, right? And you get raises along the way. You get raises every year. I think it's, typically it was like you get half of a journeyman wage to start, then it's like 60, 70, 80, and then you get the full wage.
Wow.
And
Cool.
then obviously there's like levels to it after that, where you can get like what's called a red seal, which is just like you're a black belt journeyman or whatever kind of thing.
Gotcha.
But like I can see a lot of that with like arts and stuff like that, where it's like go do some stuff, go get some experience, and figure out where you want to study specifically, rather than just jumping into, just random schoolwork. And it's like, but you don't know you want to study yet.
Well, that's the thing about personal trainers too. You know, everybody's got a certification, but there's a big difference between somebody who's been doing it for 2 or 3 years and somebody who's been doing it for 20. Right. I remember when I was 5 years in, I felt like I had a really good handle on how to train somebody. It wasn't until I was 10 years in that I realized how much I didn't know. And now I look back and think, oh my gosh.
That makes sense. That's often what we would say. It's like it takes 10,000 hours to get to the point where you realize what you don't know.
That's right.
Until you can see the whole scope of things, and then you really start learning.
That's right. Yeah, that's true.
And 10,000 hours, 10,000 hours if you're doing it as a full-time job, that's only 5 years. Like if you're doing 40 hours a week, and even if you're doing 40 hours a week, you're probably not putting in a good 40 of the job every time. There's a lot of slack time in between and stuff like that, paperwork and shit like that. So call it half of your time is probably that. People call it 10 years. 10,000 hours in 10 years is usually what it takes to be considered kind of, mastered your area, but then you really start learning.
That's right. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't hire a trainer under 5 years.
Right. Yeah, it's like go cut your teeth one-on-one at like a gym, especially for what we're doing with remote. I could see that.
Yeah.
It's like you want somebody who's got proficiency because you're not really in person, and it's trickier. You have to know more. You have to be able to read between the lines more. You have to be able to read
Mm-hmm.
people better. So it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be an interesting problem for us.
We're gonna get the best trainers.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
this is
excited
yeah.
about it.
I love the idea that we discussed like a couple of weeks ago, where it's like to become the place that trainers come to become better trainers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like not just come here to work and work with clients, but like to almost be like an academy of trainers,
Yeah.
like the
To be
BOD Training
sought
Academy.
out for the sought after, excuse me. Yeah.
Hmm. I think that would be a
Yes.
really interesting angle to take all of this as we
Mm-hmm.
grow and start building up more and more trainers. Be like the place that, yeah, I want to go work at BOD because I'll become a badass personal trainer and have it actually mean something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yes, that's right.
you got 3 years working with BOD. It's like, ooh, that's
So
prestige.
that means you know way more about pharmaceuticals and biochemistry and neurology and psychology.
Yeah,
The psychology is a big one.
right. And I think that gets to, yeah, what we really want to do is not just like hire a trainer and be like, here you go, good luck. It's going to be more
No,
like, no, here's our protocols. Here's what we want you to know. Here's the biochem. Here's the all the digestive stuff and all that.
exactly. Oh, yes. And then gut microbiome. In fact, one of my friends who writes curriculum for a personal training certification company was asking me about for the white papers that I've read on some of my research on gut microbiome and probiotics and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we want
So,
people who are excited about knowing as much as possible. Yeah,
yes.
in every way to help clients so that they're not getting caught off guard. Like, hey, my gut isn't feeling so good, or I'm having these digestion issues. And they're like, well, I'm just a personal trainer. It's like, no, we don't want those people.
No, it's like I have this lower back pain. Is it coming from your gut or is it coming from a
Yeah,
musculoskeletal issue?
maybe
Right?
it's tight
Because
glutes, or maybe it's a upset tummy.
you're right. Maybe your ileocecal valve is stuck. Let's ask some other questions.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of tests that we've, talking with our affiliate partner that does a lot of these probiotics and things like that. They've got new tests coming out that can get a lot more diagnostic about what's going on inside of you.
Yeah, I just did that this week. I did it on Monday or
Hmm.
Tuesday. Yeah, I sent it
How long
off.
do they take to
It,
get
it's
results?
a 2 week turnaround time.
Okay, that's not bad.
No, it's really
No.
good. That's very quick. When they first launched it, it was like a 5 or 6 week turnaround time. And then it's not just having them try to sell you more products. Most of it is lifestyle, eat more of this, eat less of that, take this company's products, take our company's product, that kind of thing is what they do. And I'm looking forward
Hmm.
to seeing that and experiencing it for myself because you know me, I'm the first guinea pig for everybody.
Right. And
But that's because I'm super particular and I have incredibly ridiculously high standards. And
hmm
I'm very hard to please when it comes to workouts and food and recipes. And I mean,
oh, I know. I know very well. It was like that was one of the things. Like I remember when we started this thing and you were like, I don't use my own app. And I'm like, are you serious? This is when we were talking about it goes up to like advanced. This is when I was first learning the implementation that you had before, the not so much of an algorithm. And
mhm.
then it was just like, oh, you don't even use this. And you're like, no, because it doesn't go difficult enough for me. And then that's where we got into that mid-January where we were talking about, okay, how do we make this scale so it actually is something you can use? And when we finally got to there in March, and you're like, I love this thing. It kicks my ass. I was like, yes, that was like the best validation I've had the whole time. Like it does.
I,
Allie doesn't just like it, but she loves it, and it kicks her ass in the gym. I'm like, good,
we spent
perfect.
well, it wasn't in March. It was probably toward the end of April because it took us that whole
It
time
took
that
a
you were
while to
out
tune it.
here to tune it, to tag everything correctly, because it wasn't just about getting in the exercises or making them difficult enough. It's in the correct order, needs to show up just the right way. And
Right.
that's where all of that, brainstorming and coming up with stuff together really became so crucial.
Yeah, it took a little bit to figure out how to how to order it all, how to get them to a lot of it.
A lot of it.
A lot of it.
A lot
Yeah,
of it.
to get all of that sorted out, to get them to sort properly and have them go out in a good order was important. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
getting all that algorithm together and everything, that was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun too.
it really was. And I'm super proud of where it's at. And of course, you know me, the longer I use it, the more I'm like, oh, I want to tweak this. And the more I want to do that. And let's adjust it over here. And you're like, oh, okay. Okay, Alli. But I want it to be perfect. My standards of workouts are so high that there's only one person that I've ever enjoyed taking a class or a workout from. And that was my old boss at the Spectrum Club. He was brilliant. And he was the only one that could train me that I actually enjoyed. I don't take anybody else's classes. I don't take spin classes. I don't take any other classes because I'm super picky. When I taught, they were intense and they were fun and the music was great and blah, blah, blah. And yeah,
a lot of them are not like that.
They're not. And I'm way more intense than most people will ever train. So yeah, that's why I didn't use the old system because I didn't want to spend the time to go into the elite level and have them build that in there just for me. I was like, people aren't going to get to the elite level for a while. I'll pay to have that done when the time comes, when it makes sense. So that's why I didn't use the old system. But yeah, I'm really proud of you.
Thank you very much. I'm proud of what we built too. It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
And what we found is that we actually do have clients who would have blown right past a lot of advanced stuff, at least in some areas. Like I know a lot of my leg stuff, I probably would have gotten really bored with where legs were in a lot of the ways that it was just not, some of it wasn't really scaling. And the it adds a lot more depth to it. It doesn't feel like, oh, I'm hitting the high water mark and this is it.
Well, let's be honest, you were working out in your basement with, barely any weights too. So now that you're spoiled enough to get the glory of a gym, you're like, I don't ever want to go back to that. I know. Like, so there isn't an app in the world that would have made a difference when that was your setup. I mean, you had no pulleys, you barely had anything in that basement, but you did a really good job with what you could get your hands on.
Yeah, I had adjustable dumbbells that went up to, I could put roughly about 60 pounds on a dumbbell, which was to do a single dumbbell. I could put about 60 pounds. If I had to use two dumbbells, I could get 50 or so. But, that's reasonable. It got me a lot of workouts. Where I really couldn't do bigger workouts was trying to do deadlifts, trying to do squats, because you need a bar and plates. Like doing deadlifts with dumbbells, you can do a little bit with dumbbells, but it's not the same.
No,
and I noticed the difference.
Some muscles need to be overloaded to the point where, dumbbells can't do it, right? Some muscle groups just need bigger machines to do it. There's only so much you can do at home. I'm sorry.
And those cable machines help a lot too, because you can get some different angles to them. And there's just certain exercises that they do really well. Like I love doing flies on the cable machines.
Yes.
On the cable machines, doing that chest press on the cable machine. It's like whatever, it hits differently. And it's like,
it does.
It's supersetting those together. Like I love supersetting chest press on cables with chest fly on cables. It's completely masochistic. You are insufferable.
Crazy.
Yeah, it is suffering and pain, and I love it.
It is not designed that way. You are swapping and doing that to yourself.
Oh yes.
You are not supposed to be supersetting two chest exercises.
Oh, I do that on purpose.
Yeah, yes. You are crazy. But you know what? But I love that flexibility of it. I love the flexibility that if you really are that masochistic, that you can do that. It's
Well,
not my
and
recommendation, but
it's
you
the
can.
biggest it's the biggest chest thing that I do. I mean, for a guy, it's like I want to hit chest fast and hard because
Yeah.
it's the kind of thing that it's just like I don't know. It's I don't like going easy on chest because you don't grow a chest that way. And I mean, for guys, I mean, I can understand it being very different for women. Women generally don't want giant pecs. It just does not work out well all the time. So I've heard. I've heard stories
Oh,
that this is not always a good thing. And
oh.
Ali's like,
I have
maybe.
I have opinions. I have opinions. I think it
Yeah,
depends on what your chest situation is. It definitely can help perk up the girls.
it can, unless you overdo it and they overperk, especially if one overperks more than the other. Oh, you've never seen lopsided boobs? You must have seen lopsided boobs at the gym. No?
Those are usually implants that are placed wrong.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
That's a dead giveaway then.
Yeah. Natural breasts don't, they don't just
Okay.
like, they're not lopsided. But the one lady at my gym who's got them out to like way over her toes, it's like a ridiculous, and hers are really lopsided. And, but like they
Yeah,
also are at her
that's
belly button. I mean, I don't, she has like 2 million followers on Instagram.
I bet she
And,
does.
and I can see her butt implants when she's walking straight toward me.
Well,
And I
you can
can
see
see
her
her
boob
boobs
implants when
when
she's
she's
walking
walking
away.
away.
It's like,
Jinx.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, like somebody did
She's,
not bother to tell her this was not a good idea. Like
maybe they did, but they made her
she
sign a
wouldn't listen.
waiver. I mean, I don't know. I think, I mean, if she's doing it because she does car shows and she's on Instagram, so she's clearly doing it. She's turned herself into a clown to make money.
Yeah, that happens. I mean, you get body dysmorphia and then you get praised for it, and that's a runaway slope for
It
some
is.
people.
It
It happens
is.
to guys too. I think that's a lot of guys that chase that bodybuilder physique, and then I've seen guys who pump like oil into their biceps. They have this like synthol oil. And it's nothing more than literal like it's not motor oil, but I don't think it's far from it. It's like some kind of pharmaceutical grade cleaned oil, but it's literally just like plant oil or something, and they inject it under the skin to give themselves bigger biceps.
No,
Oh yeah, oh
I
yes,
hadn't heard that one.
uh-huh.
Oh,
I'll, I'll, I'll
that's a serious body dysmorphia.
oh, and it doesn't look good either. They look
I'm sure.
weird
I'm sure it
because
doesn't.
it moves around, right?
Uh,
Like it kind of
ooh.
builds up a hydraulic pressure, but it doesn't like a muscle has a nice form to it. Like you can tell, you see Arnie in his prime, and he's got those biceps, and it's
Yeah.
like oh, there's a nice form to them. These can be like lumps, and it's just like weird. It's like camel hump biceps and shit like this. It's like what are you doing?
What
And they're
happened over
flexing.
there?
Yeah, it's like there's a definite psychology issue happening here.
I haven't seen that. Yeah, well, I mean,
It's pretty extreme.
that gets me into something that's been on my mind this week, which is as we're, building the story of the for the business plan for the investors, and like what really makes what's part of our mission. And I'm thinking we need to get away from IFBB pros being the fitness influencers and bring back normal healthy people that are trainers, that are educated, that do not have body dysmorphia, to help people.
Yes.
Because as people are looking to IFBB pros as their ideal and
Some of those people
what
are
to
on
work
drugs
toward, not
to
only
get
are
that
they
way.
on drugs, but they are definitely unhappy with their bodies. You
Right.
don't put yourself through that when you love yourself. I can
No,
speak from personal experience. When I
me
was
too.
20 and I was working toward Miss Fitness, I definitely didn't love my body the way I do now. And yeah, I tortured it and
Yeah.
myself. And that was like being at 6% body fat as a woman is not healthy.
And it's even like you see some of these some of our competition, they put out these videos of these video series, DVDs and whatnot. And it's like, you're dealing with a trainer who's like, you're not going to look like that doing the workouts that they're giving you. Cause it's just
it's my biggest pet peeve ever, to use fitness models that are in a video, in an exercise video, damn well that they did not use those exercises to look like that.
No, not even
it's
close.
Misleading.
They spent 10 years in the gym lifting weights, not doing some 5-pound weighted cardio.
Right.
It just gets your heart rate up, and it's like, cool, this is going to lean you out. It's going to burn lots of calories and lots of fat, but it ain't going to build muscle. And it's not going to boost your metabolism the way that building muscle will. So, I mean, this is why people yo-yo. It's all of that nonsense. So much nonsense. So I do love that we're going to be able to change that. And I love the idea of having realistic looking trainers that aren't just, completely, because just be honest, it's like most of those fucking people are steroided up. It's like, you don't get that big naturally, especially the women. It's like, you do not get that big. The guys too. It's like, you want to look like Arnie, you got to take some shit.
Yeah.
Don't do that naturally. I don't care how much testosterone you think.
That's why we actually use pictures of me on the website and videos in the app.
Yeah.
Like,
because your physique is realistic if you put in the dedication.
This is, you can look like this because I'm actually doing what I'm telling.
This is what you're doing all the time.
You're going to do what I do, right? I'm going to train you to be this way. And so that's how we built the app. This is how I do it. These are the recipes that I created. These are the foods that I eat. And I know it works. I know it's sustainable because I've been doing it for decades.
Yeah. And the way you train now is you use the app. You're not doing something else on the side. You're not coming up with your own workouts. It's like, you're using the app because because
the decision fatigue alone. I mean, I used to get to the point where I would just have like 2 basic leg days, and half the leg day would be the same, and the back and abs day would be the same. Like I would do the same exercises every day for years because the decision fatigue of switching it up was just too much. Right. I was like, I got other things to think about. I've got kids and businesses and stuff going on in my world. I don't need to think about what exercises to switch up to today. All this stuff works. I'll just maintain. I'll be fine right here. That's what I went through. And I imagine I'm not alone in that.
No. Imagine how much more difficult it is for people who don't really know what they're doing. And they don't know which exercises make a good program.
That's right.
And then they go there like, oh, I'm just going to do squats.
Oh, and then everybody's advice is squat as low as you can go.
Right. I'm just gonna do squats, deadlifts, and bench press and back rows. And it's just like, that's it. You're not gonna do any back extensions and bicep curls and
ab work or
because it's all those little things that you mix in. Whether it's like bent over flies, reverse flies, and stuff like that build up a lot of the small muscles. Because like squats, deadlifts, and stuff like that are great for building the big muscles, but then they don't really build the smaller ones.
No,
so you end up very unstable, and so people get injured.
That's right. My favorite thing: go ahead and load your back with a bar with a bunch of weight, and then squat past the point to where you can maintain a neutral spine, just because the idea is to get as low as you can for a quote unquote full range of motion. Your spine, your lower back is going to determine what your full range of motion is. As soon as you're out of neutral, that heavy weight on the end of that lever up by your shoulders. I have heard women. So when I was in the pageant in 2016, the Miss America Women of Achievement pageant, one of the girls was a power lifter, and she was talking about, no, you've got to squat as low as you can. I'll tell you what, within a year after that, because I followed her on Instagram, she was talking about how she completely bulged a disc and had to stop training. And I went, I could have told you that was going to happen, but you were just a girl who was into powerlifting, telling and charading as a coach, right? Just because she's done something and feels pretty good. Hey, I'll coach other people to do the same thing, but with zero principles about body mechanics, about exercise physiology, about physics in general. and she
Right.
blew out her lower back.
Of course she did.
Yep. I'm like, well, I could have told you that
I mean,
because I'm watching your video and I'm looking at exactly where that's going to happen. It's going to be right there.
and you can
L5,
see it whenever people go that
L4.
low too. Like you can see their back. It's like as much as they'll try to keep their back straight, once you start getting to that certain point, it's like you can see that lower back curl. And it's
It
like
has
you
to.
can't.
It,
Yeah.
it has to do that.
Yeah.
It's just how our bodies are built. So
You would be at a balance because you can't like get that low and keep your back straight and have that much weight. You're just going to fall over backwards. So you have to keep leaning forward to keep your center of mass.
That's right.
And then you're screwed.
This is physics.
Uh-huh.
This is what I get frustrated about. I'm like, you've got a whole bunch of trainers with like, 100 to 110 IQ that don't understand because they probably never took physics, and they don't teach that. This isn't part of personal training certifications. This is experience over time, getting mentored by some really smart people.
They don't
those
have
certifications are the bare minimum.
Physics and psychology and all these extra things that they're like, I don't need that. I just need to learn proper form. It's like, but you don't know proper form.
And you don't know why it's proper or why that's improper.
Right. And then they start deviating and doing all that stuff. And yeah, it goes. Yeah, the horror stories that you hear sometimes it's like, okay.
So I was watching this gal do hip thrusts with a bar across her hips.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, I mean, you're not getting much out of your glutes or your hamstrings, but that's a nice ab workout, a nice ab and lower back eccentric workout. Because I mean, that's the only place where the motion was coming from.
Yeah.
I'm like, gosh, you guys, but if you don't know what to look for, then of course that looks like you're doing it right. Yeah. I thought, well, that's a pretty good ab workout. She's definitely crunching there.
Yeah.
I didn't see a lot of glute squeezing, but that's okay.
Right. Yeah, there's some funny ones, the whole face pull thing, and it's like, what are we working here?
Right. You sent me a video of somebody going like, here, do these face pulls. And I was like, looks like a reverse fly with the levers cut shorter by putting your arms at a 90-degree angle. What am I missing?
This was somebody with bands. He had like the bands attached like way in front of him. And he was doing, I mean, this was a guy who had like a really chiseled back and everything too. Like obviously
he was just doing it to show off his back.
Oh yeah. And there was a whole lot of that. I mean, you could see his back tighten up and it was like, that looks like a good back. It looks like he put some work into it. I'm guessing he didn't get that back with the face pulls.
Well, or maybe he did, but that's not, I mean, it's not working what you think it was. It's just rear delts, right? I was like, you could do the same thing with reverse flies, but make it harder that way. Yeah,
it's like reverse flies with the what do you call it? The external rotation kind of mixed into it. It's just like a 2-for-1 almost or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Silly. Why do they have to call it a face pull? Well, I've seen some weird stuff in the gym. Like I've seen guys actually put weights around their head. Like they would put some type of strappy apparatus and then hang weights from that and jerk their head back to try to strengthen their neck. And I'm like, my God, stop. You're going to hurt yourself.
That sounds like a great way to like bulge a disc in your neck. And there are proper pieces of equipment for doing that, but they're specially designed for it. Like people who are boxers, like they do have, what do they call it? I think it's called the Iron Neck, is like a branded piece of equipment that has like resistance to it. You put it on your head and you like turn your head back and forth and it puts resistance on that. And it's for people who are boxing, who are taking shots because they want to tighten up their neck so that their head doesn't blob around and they get knocked out.
And that makes sense. Yeah.
But for the average person, it's like, what are you doing this for?
I know. So when every time
so much, are you expecting to like survive a car crash or something here? Is it protecting against the unlikely event of whiplash?
Right. So when somebody first used the word face pulls, I was like, oh, please tell me it's not one of those situations where they put the thing on their head and they're like,
pull with your face.
trying to lift a 25-pound plate with their neck. Like, oh my God, what is this?
Goodness.
Because I'm thinking they're pulling with their face. That's why it's called a face pull. Oy vey.
Oh, you're silly.
I know. Well, I mean, there's too many exercises that all have like completely ridiculous names. Shrimp squats.
What's a what?
Why are we pistol squats? Why are we calling it dead bugs? Why do we have these names that are completely nonsensical?
Yeah.
My son's over there going, "Hey mom, can you help me out here? I want to play with the blinds." Yeah. He's like, "I need to play with the blinds. Can you get that free for me? Thanks." He just got home from school.
And I think just keeping it simple for clients is one of the things I like. It's that we're not getting fancy. And if we do add new stuff, it's going to be, we've talked about adding like different things like some yoga exercises and making different kinds of yoga programs. We shot some videos for that, and we still got to figure out how to kind of put that together into a program that people can kind of follow along and do those.
Well, for right now, the basics, we're doing it to test the water on how many people would be interested in it, how many times people will click on it, add it to their workout, swap it in, swap it out, things like that. So how many people will click on yoga as their workout that day and then do it. So, and it would be a solid 20-30 minute yoga with just those few videos that we have in there, if they just did the number of
probably
times.
really great for people that have like flexibility issues. I mean, I should probably do it and just take like one of the more basic ones, because I know my flexibility is
just
bad.
Do the sun salutation video that I did. Right. Just do like a dozen of those and then tell me that you don't feel more limber and that you're ready to do something deeper. But yeah, so we're testing the waters with that. And one of our clients is a bit of a yogi. So she volunteered to do some poses for us and videotape that. So that's a possibility coming up, but I don't want to take our time to do it if we don't have people that are swapping into yoga. So that's why I was like, can you please get those videos up, please, Chris? Please, Chris.
Yeah, there's a little bit of figuring out how to, because they're going to program a little bit differently. There's going to be like a lot of sets to those. They're not like just 3 sets.
No, it's going to be like 12,
10 or something. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
but that's okay.
We're getting very preoccupied with investment money and getting onboarding, just getting more clients. It's like a big one right now. Make that work, and then we can, we'll dig back into more workouts, more features. I know we've got a little bit of a laundry list of stuff to do with workouts again, and I'd love to just think like 3 or 4 days into that at some point in the future.
Yep, and tweaking the math on that some more, just because I'm that much of a perfectionist.
Yeah, we're gonna make it all super perfect. And
and exceed people's expectations, because Alli is.
Well, I mean, we've seen what's out there.
So hard to please.
Yeah, we've seen what's out there. The competition is not very strong.
No.
And I've seen like some of the most advanced stuff. I've checked out a couple of competitors, people that have allegedly billions of dollars of revenue. I say allegedly because I don't know how much of that revenue is really turning into profit. They seem to be losing money, and it's like, okay, this is all you have?
Yeah.
You're spending hundreds of millions of dollars, and like,
this is the best you could come up with? Really?
We're making not even close to that.
Yeah.
And we're doing better in some respects. We've got better algorithms. We've got better workout generation. It's like where they beat us at the moment is their app looks a little, more polished. It's just like, because we don't have time for that yet.
That's coming. Yeah. Yep. It's pretty enough.
It's getting there. It's getting better.
Yeah.
The road to funding is that this is like we're in MVP land. And it's just about getting just enough features to attract investors, to attract enough clients, get those early adopters, and just that road to funding is paved with blood, sweat, and tears. Many
Yeah.
tears, many tears. And
Thank
yes.
thank goodness we really, really love it.
And like I will say too, it's so much better. Like, this is not the first time I've tried to do a startup. This is probably personally at least number 6. And it is so much nicer working with somebody that you get along with every day. It is so much nicer working with somebody that you can trust to make good decisions. And that part has been the best of this for me. Is just working with you has been fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Mm.
Thanks. The imposter was pretty strong in the beginning. Like,
Oh, I
I'm
noticed.
not, I don't have, I don't have a master's in business, right? I
Hmm.
don't have an MBA. I don't have any experience in startup land. I haven't been part of one before. And I just have an idea and I have common sense. And I think I have pretty good business sense. I think maybe my
Yeah.
financial planning background has helped
How
with the startup
it has
financial
helped you.
portion of it tremendously.
Yeah, it has helped you not make the mistakes that a lot of investors make or a lot of startup people make. And they get a little bit of money and then they just spend it all right away. And they run themselves, they run out of runway very fast. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
we have all kinds of money. We just got 100 grand. And they're broke in 6 weeks.
Yep.
It's like, I've literally watched people do that. It's like, you are an idiot. It's like, you should be planning this out for a few months because it might take you 6 months to close your next deal.
Right.
It's like, you should not just blow all that money because they get this thing in their head. They're like, oh, well, I'll spend all this money and more money will come. It's like, it don't always work that way.
Right.
It's just like, more money will come, but it's not necessarily going to come on your time frame. It'll come when
Right.
it's ready to come, and you got to attract it, and that's hard. It's not easy attracting money from people who don't like letting go of their money, otherwise known as investors. They do not like letting go of their money. It's the one rule I've learned from those people.
Pry it out of their cold, dead hands.
Pretty much. So like, and I
Like,
noticed this. I remember like just going back to how you were talking about like the imposters. Like, yeah, I noticed that in the beginning, and I was a little bit like, really? You have this much of an imposter? Then I was like, okay, I think we could work with this. It's because you were doing everything so well, but at the same time, you'd
I
like beat
didn't know
yourself
though.
up. Like,
I didn't
no,
know because I didn't have a mentor that was telling me what to do or that I was doing well.
yeah,
I
right.
was
And I
I
remember,
was out on an island, so I was like,
no,
really, I am. Oh, that's good to know.
yeah, yeah. I remember how much of a surprise it was on your face when we sat down with one of my mentors, and he was all like, "Wow, she's the real deal." She's like, she no, what did he say? Yeah, he said, she's the full package,
Aw.
just well rounded all the way around. And I'm like, "Yup, told you so," because he doubted me. He was like doubting me before. He's like, because I was kind of talking you up a little bit, and he's just like, sure, yeah. He just wasn't so like, he thought maybe I was just like embellishing or something, or maybe I'd just, because we've been working together. He's like, okay, sure, we'll see. He kind of had that little bit of, he wasn't being too dismissive, but he had a little bit of it. And then, yeah, we sat down for like an hour, and I just kind of was quiet for the most part. And he would just
Yeah, I
ask
don't
his
think you said a
questions.
word.
No, he asked his questions, and you responded, and he was just like, "Oh my God." That was his first words. We hung up on off of the Zoom call. It was like, "Oh my God." And then I called him and we talked for like 20 minutes, and he's like, first words out of his mouth is like, "She is a total package."
Aw.
Yeah,
Did he give any details about that or just that was it?
a little bit. It was just like, I was like, okay, well, what do you mean? And he's like, I mean, she's just well rounded. She knows what she's doing. She knows, you knew the details. It was like he would rhyme up a question and you had answers for him. That was not like, it wasn't a humming and hawing and let me think about that. It's like, no, I've been thinking about this for 10 years, and I'm finally getting to like brain dump all of this onto somebody who's actually asking me the right questions. Right. It was very, because I mean, this was right around the time what I had just made the offer to invest. I hadn't given money yet, but I was wanting to build the app.
Oh, you hadn't even done that. That first phone call was, hey, I think you could be a good client for this other company that I work for.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know how I'm going to pay you.
But we at least wanted to set up the call. Yeah. I remember that call was one of the ones that tipped me over to like, when he said, yeah, she's the full package, I'm like, kind of thinking I want to work for her now. I'm kind of thinking I want to work with her and maybe jump ship. And I felt a little guilty at first. And then you're like, no, I would love to have you as my CTO. And I'm just like, okay, let's do it.
You're like, never mind, guilt is over. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is he gave you your blessing, gave you his blessing.
Yeah, he was totally cool with it. I mean, he wasn't one of these people who's like, no, I own you or something like that.
Well, no, and then he became a client.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
been a client for a few months.
BOD. Right.
Yes. Which I think is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, it's all working out.
That doesn't happen very often. I stole your tech guy and you like me for it. Okay. Actually, I didn't steal anything. I was just being me. You guys did you. So it all just happened to work out.
No, you didn't steal me, but you convinced me that it was a better option.
I didn't convince you of anything.
Okay, well, no, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I'm like, I didn't convince you. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I was just me. You saw whatever you saw. So shush, don't you even start doing that, silly goose. Trying to make me out to be some sort of tech thief, employee thief.
That wasn't what I was meaning. That was more, I don't know. It was more like, I don't know. Okay, whatever.
Uh-huh.
But it all worked out. Yeah.
So, hey, I got to take my son to physical therapy. So I think after you finish this thought, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. No, that's pretty much the end of it. I think it all kind of worked out for the best. And now we're making this really good progress. Looking forward to, the board meeting at the beginning of next month is going to be really exciting.
I can't, and the best part is he wants to make sure that we have the best possible package for him to present in front of his board and be ready to step in and present ourselves. I was like, yay.
Yeah, he's gonna coach us for the next month on selling his board on investing in us.
Yes. I think
Lovely.
I just died and went to heaven.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think that's what happened. I just died and went to heaven. Yeah, because I would imagine that most investors would just say, okay, put something together and I'll present it. And they don't really care that much.
Most investors would be like, cool, you don't really have your ducks in a row. I'm out. Yeah, they give you like 30 seconds, and if you can't convince them that you're even worth talking to for another 5 minutes, and 30 seconds, you lose their attention and they move on.
Well, then I guess I got lucky, didn't I?
I don't call it luck.
That's an Alli thing, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
That seems to happen quite a bit. Well, and he was introduced to us by somebody who had me on his podcast on my birthday in January. And he really wanted to help, really wants us to be successful, really, he knows my story, the background and everything. And he's like, man, you deserve it. So I told him about, I told him about what his friend, the investor, had said. And he was like, oh, that's huge. And you deserve it. I can't wait. This is so great. That kind of thing. So that was a beautiful confirmation.
It's going to be a fun month.
It's going to be a fun decade.
Right. Yes. It's going to be a fun month into a funner year into an amazing decade.
Yes. So looking forward to it. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to go do the training with my little man here, my ultimate client, because he's still working on his BOD and getting where he needs to go. Today isn't physical therapy, it's speech therapy, but that's because of gross motor delay, it obviously affects the tongue and the cheek and the lips and everything else. So
Yep.
all these things that that I never had to take into consideration before. It's like drinking from a fire hose in terms of learning.
I can imagine it is. So
yeah.
good luck to both of you.
Thank
And,
you.
all right.
And we'll catch you on the flip side.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye.